Allison, good afternoon. We're here right now at Yosemite National Park, one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Just over my shoulder, you can see El Capitan, the Bridal Veil Falls. Those are the Cathedral Rocks right next to that. These are some of the most iconic, wondrous natural attractions in the entire world, and you can find them here at Yosemite. So as you might imagine, some folks have a reaction now as they're learning about this sort of blending of beautiful natural surroundings at national parks with Wi-Fi, Amazon deliveries, and food trucks. Those are some of the proposals that are coming out of Washington right now that are being considered. This is actually some ideas that have been kicked around since 2017. That was the start of this recreational outdoor committee that was looking at taking national parks and figuring out how can we modernize them for a younger generation and also deal with some of the budget cuts that they are expecting. About $500 million worth of money expected to be slashed from the National Park Service's budget between this year and 2020. So they're trying to make up the difference. But the solution apparently appears to be trying out some different sorts of privatizations and businesses within Yosemite National Park, but other national parks around the country. There's actually about 1,300 plus of them that are run by the NPS, the National Park Service. So you're getting reaction from people right now about how they feel about coming in here and seeing this kind of a vista and having that interrupted in some way by food trucks, delivery trucks, all sorts of things that certainly speak to modern technology, ways of life, Instagramming, people wanting to be wired and connected, but at the same time taking you out of that special escape that you get when you come to a place like this. And I can tell you, Allison, that even the parking lot where I'm standing right now, this is called Valley View behind me, could have food trucks in this. So people are driving through this hallowed ground and end up seeing businesses and people selling different food items, tacos perhaps, out of the back of a truck. That's the blending that they're trying to sort of deal with right now and figuring out how they're going to rationalize. The group that ended up creating these recommendations has been disbanded. That happened earlier this week. Now, part of that is just the process itself, not necessarily that the suggestions were off base, but there's been some criticism against the administration for how this group was formed. 4 of the people that were nominated for it, the National Park Service objected to on the basis that there was a conflict of interest between their businesses and national park policy. So 3 of them ended up getting onto this committee anyway, this outdoor recreation committee. So there was some protest in that regard. But right now, the National Park Service says there's no timeline for when they're going to make a decision on whether or not to bring these sorts of commercial aspects, if they will, to national parks or not. But they're going to look at whether or not they can protect park resources while they're doing it and whether it is in the best interest of the park and if they think it's going to be a, quote, prudent investment. That's what they're weighing. This is what you're looking at right now, some of the most beautiful space on planet Earth, and how government and commercial businesses and people that just love to come and soak it and breathe it all in will be able to balance this sort of razor's edge between staying up with the times and not breaking people's just total immersion in the natural beauty that is Yosemite National Park.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.